Hello, everybody. How are we all doing today on this Monday, July 27th? Welcome to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12OZSportsRadio.com. I am your host, Glenn Kaplan. We are live in a hot, hazy Birdland, Baltimore, Maryland, which is home of the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. And speaking of the Baltimore Orioles on this 90th show today, breaking news, the Orioles and the Miami Marlins game has been postponed tonight, along with the New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies coronavirus outbreak, and I'll get to touch that in just a second. So I hope you all enjoyed your wonderful weekend. This will be my only show this week, so tune in for the next hour or so. I'll truly appreciate it. I love you all so. Yep, I hope your weekend was good and ready for the week to get started nonetheless. So, let me talk about the coronavirus outbreak now in baseball. So, the Miami Marlins have 13 to 14 positive cases in their own clubhouse, and that's why they had to cancel the game tonight between the Orioles and Miami. Jeff Passan has been on the story all morning of ESPN, so has been Jess Rogers. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, and I don't want to, I guess, with the whole political thing, I'm like, oh, it's from Florida. What a shock. No, I'm not surprised that this outbreak from Florida has happened, because Florida has been the coronavirus pandemic outbreak now, because it's been obvious that we know how great of a tremendous job the governor Ron DeSantis has really done down there. Sarcasm. And also the same thing with Donald J. Trump. Sarcasm too as well. But let me be more serious. Should have they gone into a bubble? And I guess the answer is you could say yes. And now the MLB season's now in darn right jeopardy, which is a complete shame. I don't have to worry about hockey because I know there's not going to be any outbreaks in Canada. I got two words for you about the Canadian, why there won't be a Canadian outbreak. Justin Trudeau is the two words that I need to give you why the NHL is going to be fine and they're going to hoist the Stanley Cup. And I personally will give you two words why the NBA will be crowned a champion. Adam Silver. Yes, those two guys have been better than what's been going on. Seems like they've been treating the coronavirus cases better than I guess the people in the United States have with the government thing, right? And this is why baseball's in jeopardy. Yeah, they should have gone to a bubble. But I can also understand why they didn't. I can understand why Rob Manfred didn't want to go a bubble. I mean, to tell me, Florida, Arizona, Texas are the three hotspots for baseball, and they happen to be the hotspots for coronavirus. Oh, and they happen all to be Republican states as well. I'm shaking my head about the entire thing this morning. That all these players on the Marlins, and it's going to ruin the baseball season. And the Miami Marlins couldn't even leave Philadelphia, and they're still in Philadelphia. And the New York Yankees were traveling to Philadelphia. They had to postpone that game tonight because they didn't want the Yankees in that clubhouse. Had the game been in the Bronx, I don't think it would have been an issue. Because the Phillies, yeah, they would have played the Marlins yesterday. But let's be real. The Yankees didn't have concerns going to Washington, D.C. when Juan Soto got the coronavirus, tested positive. They had no concerns. But now there was a major concern because the Marlins were in that clubhouse and the Yankees would have been in the same visiting clubhouse. But had the game been in the Bronx, had the Phillies been traveling up, I don't think it would have been canceled. As of right now, Major League Baseball is playing all the other 10 games on the schedule. But you better believe it's in jeopardy. Because, or, Rob Manfred's going to have to decide about competition integrity. He's going to have to decide Or are they going to have to do the MLS did? Where the MLS had a couple of teams drop out, and that's what's going to happen to the Marlins. I mean, it would just count as wins for the other team, I guess you could say. Or the schedules have to get adjusted. Either it counts as forfeited wins, which I think is a shame, but you have to do something. Maybe baseball looks to continue playing out, or you finally shockingly find a bubble, which I think is too late in the game. Maybe baseball cancels this season, I hope not. But this is just another wrench in the worst year ever of our lives, 2020. The drooling year that probably no one's going to wish ever existed by the time the year's over. Yeah, that's probably the case where we're at right now with this. And yes, I just said that on live air. And no, I have no regrets saying that whatsoever. The only person that seems to be happy that the year 2020 ever existed was Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. That's it. Other than that, everyone probably thinks it stinks from the S to the K. So, speaking of bubbles, with the MLB, the NFL. Now this is going to affect the NFL and college football in some way, shape, or form. What does the NFL try to do? So, this is what Scott Abraham of ABC7 said about baseball and football. If I'm NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm buying a massive island with league money. I will call it, quote, Football Island. Build a stadium, bring all the teams to an island bubble and play ball. Yep, exactly. What if Major League Baseball he also said this. What if Major League Baseball adopted a Hunger Games plan? When one team has over a certain number of positive COVID-19 tests, they are done. Season is over. The last team standing wins the championship. Hollywood is all over this already, Very interesting. But let's be serious. The NFL needs to find a bubble. I don't think in a bubble you can play 16 games. You can't. What you can do, and I know there's a lot of staff members and a lot of players and a lot of this. Here's what you do. You can only play a 10-game regular season. And I know you're going to lose money for 6 games when you drop 6 games. But you have to do this. You still get 10 games. It's a good enough sample size. You keep the 7 teams in the playoffs. What you do is simply this. You play 6 games against your division rival. And the other 4 games is against, say, NFC West, AFC West, and so forth. That's what you have to do. That's the only way. Football, is going to have to complete this season. Or start it up, or they're going to have to delay it and do all 16 games, but start in October or November and do it all the way through March. That's the only thing that may make sense for football, because you know Roger Goodell's keeping an eye on this closely, and it's going to be hard to travel to city. You think I trust going to Miami or Tampa Bay or Jacksonville? Get out of here. No chance I trust going down to Florida, and as I just said, very politically. Oh yeah, do I also trust Dallas or Houston? Get out of here. No. And I don't trust Arizona, for that matter. There are a lot of things that I don't seem to trust right now. And as I've said, the United States has been by far the worst at handling the coronavirus. And ladies and gentlemen, it's probably not even close. The United States by far has been the worst at handling this. And it's just a sad song and a sad theme. Because it seems like completely everyone's clueless and oblivious about what they're doing. Seems like Adam Silver and Gary Bettman are the only ones that knew what they're doing. Gary Bettman's like, let me get out of the country. I'm a Canadian sport. I don't have to deal with this American BS. And they're probably gonna do good. And so is probably the NBA with Adam Silver. I mean, he's done a better job than most politicians have. The NFL needs to adopt the bubble, or they're in serious trouble too. I hate to say it, but the NFL season's in jeopardy if they can't find the bubble. Delay the season or drop it to 10 games. Because let me tell you something, the NFL training camp starts tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. Training camp begins tomorrow. The 28th of July. And today's the 27th. Because, what are we? 49 days away? Well, less than 49 days away from the first Sunday, September 13th. We are 46 days away, September 10th, from the first Thursday. And we are also 50 days away from the first Monday night game on September 14th. But I'll say it again. The first full Sunday on the 13th of September is a Sunday. September 13th is where a lot of NFL Red Zone fans, Scott Hansen included. The 10th, September NFL fans for the first Thursday game. And then Monday Night Football on the 14th. So, speaking of the NFL, I'm transitioning into Jamal Adams gets traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And let me say that the New York Jets just lost their heartbeat and heart and soul of that defense because you traded him to the Seattle Seahawks for Bradley McDougald, a 2021 and a 2022 first-round draft pick, and a 2021 third-round pick. And the Jets will also get back a 2022 fourth-round pick. And Jamal Adams is only 24 years old, and he was a first-round pick out of LSU, 6th overall in the 2017 NFL Draft. Adams is the best safety in the NFL, and it's obvious that Seattle is going for it all now. Of course, Seattle is going to win the whole... I'm not saying they're going to... I almost said that Seattle's going to win the whole thing. But they upgraded their chances. They improved a little bit in the secondary. But let's be real. I don't like their corners. Are they even better than their own team in the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West? Excuse me. Answer probably is no. They may not be better than the San Francisco 49ers in their division. And Jamal Adams, 14 games started last year. 61-yard pick, 6 on Jarrett Stidham, 7 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 25-yard touchdown strip sack off Daniel Jones, 1 touchdown, 6.5 sacks, 75 tackles in 46 games in his career. And game started as well. 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 25 pass deflections, 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 1 touchdown, 12 sacks, 273 tackles. And McDougald, 29 years old, 15 games last year with the Seattle Seahawks. 14 games started, 2 interceptions, 6 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 70 tackles combined, and 0 touchdowns. In the 98 games in his career, he's been in 7 years in the National Football League with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. 98 games, 75 games started, 10 interceptions, 40 pass deflections, 4 first fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 451 tackles. So right now you could say that the Seahawks won this trade. You could say that the Seattle Seahawks won this trade. For now. But unless the Jets get some good guys back, when they draft them, and we'll see in the long run, it may be better off for them. Short term, it's good for Seattle. I don't know how it's going to be long term for the Jets, because how could you trust that franchise right now with Woody Johnson running the show? He's the owner, and he's got in Sam Darnold no support whatsoever. It's a shame, and that organization has really not done a lot of things well. You can say that about the New York Jets franchise, and I know a New York Jets fan who's told me he wanted Jamal Adams traded because he thought he was too much of a diva, and he's probably finally glad that it happened, even though I didn't text him or ask him about it yet. He'll probably tell me at some point he's probably thrilled about the trade. Which was probably the same deal with some New York Giants fans when Odell Beckham Jr. got traded from the New York Giants for the Cleveland Browns. When they got Jabril Peppers back, Kevin Zeitler, and a couple picks. And they also happened to trade Olivier Vernon. This was a couple of years ago as well. And general manager David Gettleman, a lot of Giants fans got on him like, we didn't sign Odell to trade him. Well, you traded him. Freezing cold takes. You know how that page works, ladies and gentlemen. For all you people that are on Twitter out there, at Freezing Cold Takes. So with the NFL talk, on to the NHL. Yes, before I can get into my qualifying round preview, I'm going to get into the Seattle Kraken. Now, I like their jerseys, and I think they're pretty cool. But the name Kraken, they say release the Kraken. I know my brother Jake's a big fan of the name, but I'm really not too much of a big fan name of the Kraken. I would have loved, had they named the team name the Seattle Emeralds. Because A, you got the Emerald City. B, I looked up an Emerald before, and I remember this because I was trying to convince my college professor back at Luzerne County Community College for a public relations class about it was an assignment, and I wanted to do an assignment on the Seattle expansion team. And my professor's like to me, it's kind of a little bit too tough, but I would have named the whole thing the Seattle Emeralds and the whole jersey design. And it would have been great because an emerald is a gem. It's a gem. And it would have been great. The green gem and the green everything. And it would have been a perfect gem. I would have loved seeing those green jerseys. You don't think I would have loved seeing those green jerseys? I would have absolutely loved to see it. Because that would have been very nice. Although, Kraken, I could live with it. Emeralds just feels like more of a better twist than the Kraken does. And the expansion draft is next summer. 2021. So I decided to look up the rosters of each team. And I did not watch the hype video of this. But it was definitely a gem. And then it was definitely a gem because Colin Cowherd was talking about it Fox Sports 1 on his show. So here we go. Here's who I think each team is either not going to protect or they're going to sell. Alright. I've just listed out a bunch of random names. When the time gets closer, I will obviously have my thoughts. Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't think Chris Letang's going to be there. I think he's going to get expanded to Seattle, defenseman. Washington Capitals, Nick Jensen, defenseman. Columbus Blue Jackets, Jonas Korpisalo, goalie. New York Islanders, Michael DeCole, forward. New York Rangers, Alexander Georgiev, goalie. Philadelphia Flyers, Nolan Patrick, center. Carolina Hurricanes, Brock McGinn, forward. Atlantic Division, Tampa Bay Lightning, Tyler Johnson, center. Boston Bruins, Danton Heinen, center. Toronto Maple Leafs, I think they're going to expose William Nylander, forward. Montreal Canadiens, Philip Deneau, center. Jeff Petrie, defenseman. Buffalo Sabres will expose Dominic Cahoon, forward. Or, where is it? Or Zemeckis Grigotsson, center. Ottawa Senators, Artem Anisimov, center. Florida Panthers, Brett Conley, forward. Detroit Red Wings, Valtteri Filppula, center. Pacific Division, Edmonton Oilers, Alex Chiasson, forward. Calgary Flames, Travis Hamonic, defenseman. Vancouver Canucks, Jay Beagle, center, or Tyler Myers, defense. Arizona Coyotes, Adin Hill, goalie. San Jose Sharks Kevin LeBanc center, Anaheim Ducks Christian Djoos defenseman, and Los Angeles Kings Ben Hutton defenseman. Winnipeg Jets Mason Appleton center, Chicago Blackhawks Alex Nylander forward. Hey, the Nylander brothers get to reunite with each other. Dallas Stars Jamie Oleksiak defenseman, although Jamie Oleksiak's been with the Stars for several years. Colorado Avalanche Nikita Zadorov defenseman, St. Louis Blues Ville Husso goalie Marco Scandella defenseman, Nashville Predators Pekka Rinne goalie Dan Hamhuis defenseman, and Minnesota Wild Kara Uz center Devin Dubnyk goalie. I was listing basically a bunch of random names. Basically, I was doing it on a bunch of factors: contracts, age, eligibility, where the franchises want to go next year, in a year now from so. I base it off a lot of things. And if it's the same rule that the Vegas Golden Knights had it off of, well, I guess it's okay. Well, when Vegas was first in the league, they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And when they did make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, they lost to the Washington Capitals in 5 games. And speaking of Seattle expansion, this is good that Seattle's getting an expansion team because they need the entertainment life again, because they have not had the Seattle Supersonics since 2008 to become the Oklahoma City Thunder nonetheless, and I think this is very, very, very good for them. Excuse me. So, I'm curious to see how it's going to go in the long run. I just wanted to give my quick take on this, and I hopefully hope in the long run that the Seattle franchise will be a gem moving forward nonetheless. We'll see how this is all going to work. And speaking of how things are going to work, how they're all going to work, nonetheless, I'm excited to finally announce the qualifying round of this preview, the qualifying round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So happy I get to finally do this. Here we go. Let's preview it. Eastern Conference, number 12 seed Montreal Canadiens versus the number 5 seed, the Pittsburgh Penguins. This will be the first playoff series that I'm previewing on this show. This could be a very quick series, and this is only a best-of-5 series rather than a best-of-7 series, though nonetheless. Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Jake Guentzel, and company will be ready to roll. The question will be, is Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry the starting goalie for the Pittsburgh Penguins? We have no idea. Mike Sullivan, the head coach, has not shown his hand who he's going to start in this series. I'm thinking he may go Jarry because I've heard things that Murray's not exactly lit it up in camp. And Jarry also had the better year. And there's also durability problems right now with Murray. Something tells me, I don't know what kind of confidence the Penguins franchise has in Murray right now. And they're one of the few teams that took 4 goalies up with them. The other 2 are Casey DeSmith and Emil Larmi. Those are the other 2 that they took up. And this Pittsburgh Penguins team is way more talented than Montreal is. Yes, they have Carey Price who could steal a game or 2 and maybe even a series. But they also have players like Max Domi, Jonathan Drouin, Philip Deneau, Brandon Gallagher, Jeff Petrie, who aren't as talented. Oh, and you got John Moraine on the back end, rookie, who's probably going to finish maybe 4th or 5th in the Calder voting. And can Chris Letang finally redeem himself in the playoffs? Or will there be fans begging him to be traded once again? We'll see how this goes, but this Penguins team will sweep them, and my pick is Penguins in 3. 3 games, they will win this series. Next up, number 11 New York Rangers versus number 6 Carolina Hurricanes. This is going to be a very interesting series. The New York Rangers won all 4 games against the Carolina Hurricanes during the regular season. Carolina and New York have to realize this is a brand new season. Head coach David Quinn is silent about his goaltending situation and won't make a decision on it until the day before the day of the game. Igor Shesterkin should be the starter in this one. We will see if he is, though. Henrik Lundqvist and Alexander Georgiev will be the other two goalies on this roster, and I believe they also brought up another goalie with them. The Carolina Hurricanes will most likely go with James Reimer between the pipes. Chris Kreider and Artemi Panarin, Hart Trophy finalist, will be the Rangers stars in this one. Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov will be the Hurricane stars in this one. Rod Brind'Amour wants another deep playoff run, and they have not won it all since 2006 against the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games. And the thing is, Brind'Amour, just led this team to conference finals last year for the first time since 2009, and Brind'Amour knows a thing or two about the Stanley Cup playoffs, and David Quinn's going to find that out real fast. This will be entertaining on both sides, but I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes will win this series in 5 games. That's my pick, Hurricanes in 5. Next up, number 10 seed Florida Panthers against the number 7 seed New York Islanders. This could also be a very entertaining series. 2 elite head coaches in this one between Joel Quenneville and Barry Trotz. They are not strangers to this time of year, and they are both well respected across the league, and have at least won Stanley Cup. Quenneville won 3 with the Chicago Blackhawks, 2010, 2013, and 2015, and Trotz won 1 with the Washington Capitals in 2018. Jonathan Huberdeau versus Matthew Barzal is a very interesting matchup I'm looking forward to. Huberdeau can score. He's got some finesse moves. Jonathan Huberdeau's not known about because, let's see, he plays in the small Florida market in Sunrise, Florida. They have a couple of pieces. Evgeny Danielov's also another nice piece that Quenneville has. And Barzal's got Josh Bailey. He's okay. He's all right. But how will it be for the Florida Panthers? And also, how will it be for the Islanders? Owen Undersley's got to step up his game, or the Islanders will be out early. And also, for the Florida Panthers, they don't have Riley Smith or Jonathan Marchessault because they're both playing in Vegas. But the Florida Panthers also have Aaron Ekblad on the back end of their defense. And the Florida Panthers, I just don't think this team is ready yet to win. They are not ready to win yet. Quenneville's going to teach them. They're going to learn some pains in this series for sure. That's what the Florida Panthers are going to be learning. Oh, and they also got Brett Conley, who's going to be and Noah Acciari, who they got for the Boston Bruins in the offseason. Yeah, Acciari played a big role for the Bruins as well last year. But how will Sergei Bobrovsky be? I personally think Bobrovsky's a better goalie than Semyon Varlamov or Thomas Greiss is, but I think the experience of the New York Islanders will be the difference in the series. Oh, do you remember in 2016 when the Florida Panthers played the New York Islanders? That was the infamous game, Game 6 at the Barclays Center. Down 1-0 in the third. John Tavares scores to tie it up. Wins it in double overtime. All the Islander fans go crazy at the Barclays Center. Yeah, those were fun. Yeah, those were fun times for Islanders fans. Remember my Uncle Frank telling me about that stuff at that game. But I think the Islanders beat them in this series. They'll win this series in 4 games. The pick Islanders in 4. Number 9 seed Columbus Blue Jackets versus the number 8 seed, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So number 9 Columbus Blue Jackets versus 8 Toronto, and I'm curious to see how this number 9 seed Columbus Blue Jackets versus number 8 seed Toronto Maple Leafs series is going to pan out. This is in all caps, most interesting Eastern Conference matchup in the qualifying round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Columbus is a physical team Under John Tortorella, he hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 2004, 7 games against Calgary Flames. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, he was the coach of that team with Vincent Lecavalier, Martin St. Louis, Ruslan Fedotenko, Aaron Boyle. That team was loaded. The Toronto Maple Leafs, and they also had Hobby Bullen in that. The Toronto Maple Leafs want to play with speed and skill, but we will see if Austin Matthews, Mitchell Marner, and John Tavares will want to be tough against players like Zach Werenski, Seth Jones, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Nick Foligno and Cam Atkinson can take over a series as well. While Toronto's defense and also William Nylander, Kasperi Kapanen, and Andreas Johnsson be step-up guys or no. Tyson Barrie and Nikita Zaitsev better step up, they will be toast on the back end under new head coach Sheldon Keefe, who took over for Mike Babcock earlier in the season. Elvis versus Lakins will be better than Frederik Andersen in this series. And I think Columbus will want it more than Toronto. The Maple Leafs have not won it all since 1967. Oh, and better yet, the Maple Leafs have not won a playoff series since 2002. The Columbus Blue Jackets will win this series in 5 games, and that's my pick. The Blue Jackets in 5. Next up, the Western Conference. Number 12 seed, Chicago Blackhawks versus the number 5 seed, the Edmonton Oilers. I think this series is probably going to be painless for the Edmonton Oilers, despite the Chicago Blackhawks beating them 2 out of 3 during the regular season. The Edmonton Oilers have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and some other key players as well. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Alex Chiasson, James Neal, Andreas Athanasiou, Zach Kassian. So this team's decent 1 through 2, and maybe step-ups from lines 3 and 4 every now and then. And Edmonton is a little bit deeper than Chicago is line-wise. Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews aren't strangers to the postseason either. However, while they had the help to win a shortened series, I wrote season on my script, I meant series. Also, Edmonton is more structured on defense than Chicago is, and it also doesn't help that the Blackhawks don't have Brent Seabrook on the back end. The Oilers are much better suited at goalie with Mike Smith or Mikko Koskinen than the Chicago Blackhawks are with Corey Crawford or Colin Delia. The Edmonton Oilers will win this series in 3 games. That's my pick, Oilers in 3. Next up, 11th seed Arizona Coyotes versus number 6 seed Nashville Predators. This could very well be the offensively challenged series, but watch this be the series with the most goals being scored nonetheless. In this series, it could be very boring in every game, or it could also get very exciting nonetheless. I feel like this is the Taylor Hall, Clayton Keller, Phil Kessel, and the rest of the Coyotes versus Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, Austin Watson, and the rest of the Predator squad. Both of these teams are well structured on defense. That is the one thing that both of these teams do well. They're both structured on the blue line. Rick Tocchet and John Hines will be an interesting matchup at head coach. Hines took over for Peter Laviolette early in the season. Hines was let go from the New Jersey Devils early in the season as well, nonetheless. The goaltending battle between Antti Raanta and Pekka Rinne could be very interesting and inspiring nonetheless. The only thing that I think going for Nashville in this series is experience, and I will take them to win this series in 5. So the pick, Nashville in 5. Next up, number 10 seed Minnesota Wild versus number 7 seed the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, I'm going to slow down here, and I'm going to start off with this. Use promo code 12OZ Sports all caps, for deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie. Now I get to continue with this series. The Minnesota Wild may just be happy to be here, and the Vancouver Canucks want to build their young core and gain something positive out of this series. Vancouver has more better players in Elias Pettersson, Brock Bossier, Jay Beagle, JT Miller, and Bo Horvat. Quinn Hughes is saw on the back end. He's the brother of New Jersey Devils forward Jack Hughes. They have a solid goaltending situation with Jakob Markstrom and Thatcher Demko, and Demko's a solid backup. Devin Dubnyk or Alex Stalock should be the starting goalie in this series. But will they go with Kaapo Kähkönen because he actually played pretty decently until the coronavirus epidemic? And I'm curious to see what general manager Bill Guerin has to say. Does Guerin want the young guy, or is he like, we're in it to win it? That's tough because I know Guerin's an all Apple, and not all Apples guy. He's like, he's a win it all guy, knowing from the culture he was with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But the truth of the matter is, we'll see what happens. And they have Zach Parise, Ryan Donato, and Matt Dumba as well. There are a few solid players on this roster, and they will be solid. Minnesota Wild, they're okay. They're not as solid, but the Vancouver Canucks will win this series in 4 games. The pick, Canucks in 4. This is the series that we're all waiting for in the Western Conference. Number 9 seed Calgary Flames versus the number 8 seed, the Winnipeg Jets. Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, Matthew Tkachuk, and others versus Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, and others. Johnny Gaudreau is an absolute tank and the heartbeat and heart and soul of your Calgary Flames. Johnny Gaudreau is one of the best players in the National Hockey League. He's quick, he's elusive, he does a lot of things well. That's what Johnny Gaudreau is. Johnny Gaudreau is one of the best players in the NHL, and he does a lot of things with grace and class. Teammates like him, he can score, Shokin Monahan, Tkachuk's going to be that little dirty player in that series. And then on the other side, Laine's a sniper. He's like Alex Ovechkin 2.0, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, and let's see how the back ends play in this series. I'm curious to see how it's going to work but before I get to the back ends, let me talk about the goaltending. And they've also played in outdoor games before at the Heritage Classic. Connor Hellebuyck and David Rittich will be the starting goalies in this series matchup. But for some strange reason, I don't know why, I feel stronger about Rittich in this series than I do with Hellebuyck. And it's not that I do not trust Connor Hellebuyck. Has absolutely nothing to do with it. Want to know what it has to do with? You don't think the Calgary Flames are ticked off at what happened last year when they were the 1 seed and lost to Colorado? You don't think for 1 second they're ticked off, and they're also ticked off? Remember the Bill Peters situation? You don't think they're ticked off about that either? So they got motivation. And plus, either one of these two teams I think could go on a playoff run. These two teams are absolute dark horses out west. And I would not be surprised if one of these two teams went on a playoff run. Would not shock me 1 second if they went on a playoff run. I wouldn't be shocked. I think they got talent. Both of these teams got talent. And they're well coached. They're well coached. Both teams are well coached. Even in the normal circumstances, both of these teams probably would have made the playoffs. But, they have to play each other in the qualifying round. And it's going to be really ugly, and it's going to be downright nasty. Oh, I can't wait for this series to begin. So, I'm curious to see how it's going to work out at the end of the day. sticking with hockey, now I'm going to make some round robins predictions. Before I get into some other sports to talk about. Western Conference and Eastern Conference round robin play. 4 teams, as in the Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Colorado Avalanche, and the St. Louis Blues in the West. And in the East, the Boston Bruins, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Washington Capitals, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the East, they'll play each other one time, like Boston versus Philly, Boston versus Washington, Boston versus Tampa Bay, and so forth. And in the West, Vegas versus Dallas, Vegas versus Colorado, Vegas versus St. Louis, and so forth. You get the drill. And this is how I think the seeding's going to be 4 through 1 at the end of the day. And personally, to be honest with you, those teams should have played each other. Yeah, they should have played each other, but they should have just kept the seeding as is. I think they should have just gotten their legs wet and make these games not count. That's just my opinion. What I think in the West, Vegas Golden Knights will be 4, Dallas Stars will be 3, Colorado Avalanche will be 2, and the St. Louis Blues will be 1. In the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia Flyers will be 4, the Washington Capitals will be 3, the Tampa Bay Lightning will be 2, and the Boston Bruins will be number 1. This is how I feel about the entire National Hockey League. The Stanley Cup playoffs are the best time of year. I'm a big hockey fan, and I'm like, I thought I could never get into hockey. I was never interested, and it was like, I could thank my Uncle Frank for that a lot, for a bunch of hockey stuff, and I'm just like, I'm just like I don't know if I could call myself a hockey junkie, but I just love hockey and a lot of things about it. Oh, the playoffs are the best time of year. I saw the setup online. It's an amazing setup, and I cannot wait for the Stanley Cup playoffs to begin this weekend. Well, they're going to be playing some exhibition games starting tomorrow. Each team's getting one exhibition game. They're playing either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and some of them are going to be televised on NBCSN. Oh, I'm definitely watching. I'm definitely going to watch the Penguins and I'm going to watch them versus the Flyers. Penguins, Flyers. That's going to be so much. I mean, it's just going to be fun to watch hockey. And that's how I feel about baseball returning, about lots of other things. But maybe baseball will be shortened. We'll see. Hockey. Hopefully nothing's to hockey and basketball. So I'm curious to see how it's all going to work out at the end of the day, because I feel like hockey's done a lot of great things with grace and class. Now on to the NBA preview for Thursday and beyond. Along with the NHL coming back this week, Thursday night will feature 2 games on TNT for the NBA, and I'm going to preview both of those games right now. The Utah Jazz and New Orleans Pelicans will play each other at 6:30 p.m., followed by the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Los Angeles Clippers at 9 p.m. Zion Williamson will be back for the New Orleans Pelicans. The Harvey Hartzell of the Pelicans. And here's his stats. 19 games, 23.6 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 0.5 blocks per game, and 0.8 steals per game. And as for the Clippers, they will not have Lou Williams for the first 2 games of the restart because he has to quarantine for the next 10 days because he did some stuff during his excused absence, quote unquote, that he should not have been doing nonetheless. And Montrezl Harrell may not be playing this game as well, but Patrick Beverley is expected to play. So Lou Williams played in 60 games, 18.7 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game, 5.7 assists per game, 0.2 blocks per game, and 0.7 steals per game. Montrezl Harrell games, 63 games, 18.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 1.7 assists per game, 1.1 blocks per game, and 0.6 steals per game. So that's what I think for the NBA. Now I'm going to preview both of those games and what I think is going to happen. So, the Pelicans, you got Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and you got Jackson Hayes, JJ Redick. And the Pelicans, I just think that the Pelicans, maybe deeper. Oh, and you also got Drew Holiday. And you want to know who also the Pelicans have in this game as well? They also got, you have Josh Hart, and you have, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That team's just Pelicans are going to be very good for years to come. They're just going to be very good and very deep for years to come. And they also got another overseas player that just stands out to you. And then on the other side for the Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic hurts, as in they don't have him. I'm going to take the Pelicans 187 to beat the Utah Jazz. And now for the Lakers and the Clippers. Yeah, I know that the Clippers are going to have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but missing Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams is worse than missing Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley for the Lakers. You also got Dwight Howard, Danny Green. You have those players that are also really good. But I think this game matters more to the Lakers than the Clippers. I will take the Lakers to win either 95-96 or they'll score 95 or 96 points to 87. And there are also going to be other games Friday through Sunday before I get back on the air on Monday morning. And just for the fun of it, I figured I'd share with you guys what I think some of the scores may potentially be. I didn't look at over-unders for the game. I didn't have time to look at bettings. I just felt like I'm just going to make scores up. I just want to see how close I get. I probably won't check on it. I just do it for you listeners and viewers, whoever likes listening to the show over here. So I'm glad you all listened to it. So here we go. Orlando Magic 115, Brooklyn Nets 85, Washington Wizards 87, Phoenix Suns 84, Portland Trailblazers 97, Memphis Grizzlies 92, Milwaukee Bucks 102, Boston Celtics 85, Sacramento Kings 115, San Antonio Spurs 114, Dallas Mavericks 125, Houston Rockets 119. Now that's going to be an interesting game to watch. Luka Doncic versus James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Oh, and the Mavericks got Kristaps Porzingis. Denver Nuggets 95, Miami Heat 88. Another interesting game this weekend, because those are two potential dark horses team in their respective conference. Utah Jazz 95, Oklahoma City 94, Los Angeles Clippers 111, New Orleans Pelicans 108, Philadelphia 76ers 115, Indiana Pacers 99, Los Angeles Lakers 92, Toronto Raptors 86, Brooklyn Nets 88, Washington Wizards 84. I'm not sure if Washington's even going to win a game in this restart. They don't have Bradley Beal, John Wall, David veterans. Boston Celtics 101, Portland Trailblazers 95, Memphis Grizzlies 116, San Antonio Spurs 110, Houston Rockets 120, Milwaukee Bucks 105, and Dallas Mavericks 145 to Phoenix Suns 135. I just think that all of those games could potentially be very, very, very high scoring. I'm just curious to see if they will be high scoring this weekend or if they're not going to be. I just think I'm excited the NBA is back, the NHL is back. I just hope that the MLB figures out something. I just hope the MLB can find a way to play through it. Yeah, I understand that player safety is the number one important thing. But you had to know this was coming. I don't know if you could start a season and re-shut it down again. And if you do shut it down, what happens to money? I don't know if they figured this out. And I'm not trying to say that with sports is the all end of all ends. But if you start something, I mean, you think you have to finish it? I know the MLS had two teams try out, but we're not going to cancel. We have to go through it. We got to move on. I mean, you can't live. You cannot live in perfection. It's not possible. It really isn't possible to live in perfection in today's world. No one's perfect. And it's all these other things. And I know it's contagious and all this other stuff, but you gotta live through it and deal with it. Yes, I've been critical of politicians and a lot of other stuff, but it is what it is. Alright. Speaking of which, next up, baseball. I was happy opening day weekend. MLB opening day weekend was pleasant, and I was happy rounding out and watching games. I will probably update the standings every Monday. Excuse me. I was going to talk about the standings on today's show, but because of everything going with hectic and what's going on with baseball and the Miami Marlins and the coronavirus, hopefully next week, assuming we don't have a cancellation of the season or the pause of the season, we'll see what happens. So use promo code 12OZ Sports, all cash for deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie, and probably starting next Monday for a short while before football season begins, I'll probably list my top 10 teams across the Major League Baseball platform. As I just said, I wrote my script. I won't do it today with all the topics that I had on here, but it is what it is nonetheless. It feels a lot different without fans in the ballpark, nonetheless. It was also reported that Houston Nationals starting pitcher Justin Verlander was going to be out for the season, but he is not. He will be reevaluated in 2 weeks with a forearm strain issue nonetheless. All those New York Yankees fan base were being like, Karma S, whatever, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Speaking of the New York Yankees, Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge, and Carlos Stanton looked solid and good against the Washington Nationals. Washington Nationals. They looked good against the Washington Nationals nonetheless. They missed Juan Soto big time this weekend, who tested positive for the coronavirus, as I mentioned earlier on the show. Well, this isn't going to be the first instance this season that's going to happen, and now that we had the Miami Marlins outbreak, the season's in jeopardy, as I've said earlier on the show. What I also liked about this weekend is the new bullpen rule is great, and you have to pitch to at least 3 batters. I felt like that the game was much more smoother with that. And I know people have been critical of the start runner on second base, start extra innings. It cost the New York Mets on Saturday, and also cost the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday against the Tampa Bay Rays. So, I watched 2 New York Yankees versus Washington National games this weekend. I also watched 2 Atlanta Braves versus New York Mets games on ESPN nonetheless. So here are some of the biggest surprises this weekend. The Baltimore Orioles, the Miami Marlins, and the San Diego Padres. My biggest disappointments this weekend, the Boston Red Sox, the Washington Nationals, and the Cincinnati Reds. Baseball is back, and we couldn't be more happier about it nonetheless. Yoenis Cespedes gives the New York Mets some extra juice in their lineup nonetheless. Major League Baseball. We'll see if they shut the thing down. It's probably going to be a big old story today about baseball. We'll see if they pause the season. But as of right now, they're going to play. They're going to play tonight. I want to watch the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox on ESPN. I also want to watch the Arizona Diamondbacks and San Diego Padres. The Padres game will be first, and then the Red Sox game will be later. It'll be fun to watch the Mets and the Diamondbacks again, too. I mean, it's fun. I like watching sports, even if it's no fans. This is probably the last topic for today, the NFL, the Washington football team. So I've been critical of owner Dan Snyder. I don't think he does a lot of good things with grace and class whatsoever. He simply has not done it very well. And I've been critical, but you have to give him credit here for one thing and one thing only, and I personally think you should tell the team that him and head coach Ron Rivera are taking their time with the team name. They're just going to be known as the Washington football team for the season. So, they're going to have numbers on the side of the helmet. And Rivera's Rivera's a team-oriented guy. He was like that with the Carolina Panthers. Ron Rivera is the right man for this job to deal with this. But you can't treat Ron Rivera as they can't treat him as the savior. He's just a guy. I remember a guy. There was a guy who I knew. He played baseball. He was a missing piece for a high school team. And I remember a team that he was telling me that this team made a bunch of errors in a game without him. And I had a conversation with him the one time. He's like to me, I'm not God, I'm just another human. Because I'm not like I'm going to fix all your problems. Well, when he did return, he fixed a lot of problems, but they made the playoffs but lost early. You could say that about Ron Rivera. Rivera would probably be like, I'm not God, I'm just another person. That conversation with the person I had, that's just very touching. It's just like, yeah, that Ron Rivera's just brought here to change culture. Right? He's not gonna touch a fingerprint on it and magically fix this team overnight. That's not gonna be the case. That'd be nice. It'd be nice for the Washington football team and its fan base, no matter where they are. But you're gonna tell me that, and I don't think they're gonna be very good this year. They won't be very good this year. I think they're going to be horrendous with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, and they're going to have to potentially find another quarterback potentially in the NFL draft next year if there even is a season. As I've said in the past about a bunch of things, I'm critical of this franchise and what happened with the story about the sexual abuse, which, I ripped Snyder to shreds about. And I'm not a fan of his, and not a lot of people are either. But I guess the storm has calmed down, quote unquote, for now. I guess Ron Rivera is going to change things over there. What do they say? Winning Reds overrides bad everything. What do you think happened when the New York Mets made it a World Series in 2015? Until they lost, and then there was management issues. The Wilpons did this. The Wilpons did this, did that. And a lot of Mets fans are like, we can't wait for Uncle Stevie Cohen, to buy the Mets. And Washington football team fans are probably like, we can't wait for someone to buy the Washington football franchise because we know that fans in Southern Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia, and other places around the country can't wait for him to sell, but they hope to be happy moving forward nonetheless when it comes to hopefully maybe some winning seasons nonetheless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time here. Thanks for tuning in to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I'm your host, Glenn Kaplan. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and also your week and this upcoming weekend as well. Your weekend. So, yeah, enjoy your weekend and this. So we'll see what happens. So at the same time next Monday, I will be back on air. We will see. I will do some game recaps about the NHL and the NBA. I will preview more games. And I'm also going to have an update about the MLB season and some NFL season as well nonetheless. Use promo code 12OZ Sports, all caps, for deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie. See y'all